Hey, I'm Matthew Giorgio. I want to talk about entrepreneurship education. I've been involved in entrepreneurship education for 20 years, whatever it is. And I'm probably willing to bet that I'm not sure if there's anybody in the world that's created as many entrepreneurship education and training resources in the world as I have. But in any event, my message here to you is I've seen most people who teach entrepreneurship education, whether it's at high school, university, college, and often in the nonprofit sector, most people do it by having the students do business plans. And if the business plan activity is your primary method of teaching entrepreneurship, I'm going to ask you to reconsider that, because it really is not an effective way to teach and introduce people to entrepreneurship. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to give you two specific examples and a quick message. So, think about when somebody is 16 years old and they're just going to get their driver's license and they're all excited about getting to drive a car for the first time, and then we tell them, well, no, wait a minute, you can't drive the car. You got to learn how to change the oil, or change the tires, and do all this other stuff before you're even allowed to try to drive the car. Imagine how deflating that would be, and how much that would suck the energy out of the excitement of that person who wants to drive a car. Well, business plans are actually like that for anyone in terms of learning entrepreneurship. So let me give you two examples to illustrate this point. So a number of years ago, my daughter, I think she was probably 10 years old at the time, and she ended up doing a lemonade stand with some friends in the neighborhood. And by the way, a lemonade stand, highly recommended to any kids and parents. It's definitely a great learning experience. Anyway, she had a great experience doing that lemonade. I had nothing to do with it. Her and her friends did it a couple of times, made $10, $15, $20, whatever it was. And shortly after, she came to me and said that she'd like to actually make something, and sell it. And I said, well, great. There's a farmer's market. We can go to the farmer's market on Saturdays and set up a booth and sell something. But you have to figure out what it is you want to sell. And so my daughter went, said, great. And every couple of weeks, she'd come back to me with something, right? So she'd come and show me maybe some type of something made out of paper or something, and say, what about this? And I look at it and say, oh, that's great, but I'm not sure anybody would, really buy that. It's great craft. But so this happened 2, 3, 4 times. She'd come to me with something, and I'd give her some feedback on it, and didn't quite fit. And then one day she came, and she actually had made some jewelry using beads and all sorts of things like that. And it was really, really good. And I said, now you've got it. This I think you can sell. And so we ended up booking a table at the farmer's market, and ended up going there, I think, for, 1-2 years, every Saturday morning. I'm not a morning person, but get up every Saturday morning, and I'd sit in the corner of the booth and let her do her thing. And she ended up selling jewelry and popcorn, and I think had a great experience that I believe really contributed to her confidence as a young woman, still a young woman today. So let's rewind the story a bit and take a different approach. So let's say my young daughter comes to me and says, hey, I want to make something and sell it. What if my response was, oh, that's amazing, yes, well, we're going to spend the next 6 Saturdays and Sundays and maybe some evenings, and we're going to do a business plan. So we're going to do some research on the internet, and maybe we'll call some customers, maybe we'll do some surveying out in the front lawn. Now imagine how deflating that would be for a 10-year-old girl. Now imagine, forget about the fact that she was a 10-year-old girl. Think about how deflating that would be for anybody, regardless of your age or gender or creed. How deflating it would be to say, oh no, you got to spend the next number of weeks doing a book report and research before you can actually even get to experience entrepreneurship. That's the mindset. That's the approach we're taking when using business plans as the primary method of teaching people business. You have to let them experience business as soon as possible. Let them get that energy. Let them discover the challenges and the opportunities and the amazing things that come from it. And then we start diving deeper and looking under the hood and helping them understand the concept of business plan and market research and so on. Let me share the second example that contributes to this. So some years ago, I was talking with a group that worked with kids at risk. So generally high school kids, maybe been in trouble with the law, and they were trying to teach them entrepreneurship skills. And one of the things they told me was that, and they were doing the business plan approach. They would say, okay, these kids were working on their business plans over a number of weeks, and it came to the point sometimes where the numbers weren't going to work out. So after a whole bunch of time and energy put into this, you could tell that this business was not going to work out. And here's the problem. The problem was these kids were so invested in the time they had put into that business plan. And often it might have been the only academic exercise they had ever invested significant time and mindset to, that they didn't want to let it go. So despite the fact that the numbers were telling you, everything was saying this is not going to work, they just did not want to let it go because they were too invested. We took them down the road too far. And that's a recipe for failure. You know, as amazing as it was that they were invested in this experience, the fact that you were letting them continue on something, on a path of failure, even though failure can be good, but you know, there's good failure and there's bad failure, that was definitely not necessarily a good failure. So we have to understand that, you know, when it comes to entrepreneurship or anything in life, we need to get people excited by it. We need to allow them to dip their toe in it, to experience the emotional aspects of that experience, so that they want to learn more. They want to take a deeper dive. So hey, let's learn how to drive the car, because that's the exciting part. And then once we learn how to drive the car, you know, then maybe we can look under the hood and see how the car operates. And some people will love that, and some people won't want anything to do with that, and that's fine too. But we let them experience driving the car. We let them experience entrepreneurship before we scare them away from that concept. So look to other activities that are more experiential for your learners, regardless of what their age is. Doesn't matter whether it's kids or adults. Now, I've spent most of my life building games and simulations that teach business and entrepreneurship, because I feel that's indeed the most effective way to allow someone to experience business and entrepreneurship, is actually let them run a business in a simulated environment where they can make mistakes and make all the decisions and feel all the pressures of running a real business. And then they discover, hey, you know what? I don't know how to read a balance sheet. I don't know what accounting is, but I'm doing pretty good in this game and I want to do better. So now I'm motivated to want to learn these other things. And I'm learning them in the context of already understanding the fundamentals of business, because I'm running a business. Whether I'm doing it successfully or not in a simulated environment, I'm already running it, so I understand and comprehend the context of accounting and financial statements and marketing and messaging and employee management and all of those complexities that we as entrepreneurs have to deal with on a daily basis. Anyway, I hope you'll find this information helpful. I'm Matthew Giorgio.
BusinessXP is the fastest and most inspiring training ever invented for future business leaders and entrepreneurs. Discover game-based experiential learning at business-xp.com.